Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the history of ecological civilization and sustainable development. The first time the phrase ecological civilization was used as a technical term in the English language book in 1995. In past, the ecological civilization is just to fill theoretical vacancy in its socialism with Chinese characteristics, but rather a future-oriented guiding principle based on the perception of the extremely high price we have paid for our economical miracle. Western thoughts regarding ecological civilization, according to Western traditional philosophy, mankind is the most valuable part of the world, where nature and other forms of life are targets for our domination and therefore have no value. This is the philosophical basis for the concept of man ruling nature in the industrial civilization. The ecological civilization, however, believes that value exists in both man and nature. Nature is also able with the power to take the initiative, and all forms of life depend on nature, including mankind. Chinese thoughts regarding ecological civilization, eco-civilization, insists that Chinese philosophical traditions valued ecological harmony, and that this can be revealed in order to create a green future. It's argued that eco-civilization represents a more advanced stage of human civilization. Pan argues that eco-civilization constitutes an advanced form of social harmony, thus emphasizing that eco-civilization is not merely a framework for policy and lawmaking aimed at a more environmentally sustainable world, but just as much a vision with social, political, and moral dimensions. The evolution of ecological civilization is effectively the fourth in a series of slogans that started in the 1980s with spiritual civilization, material civilization, and political civilization. Environmentalists Ma Jun drew on this aspect as the state of Chinese thinking on the future of global civilization in the light of the world. Shared environmental challenges founded on the beliefs that our model of industrial civilization is unsustainable. In 2007, the phrase ecological civilization made its debut appearance at the Chinese Communist Party's 17th Congress, History of the Idea of Progress, to study the roots of issues related to the interaction between development and sustainability. It would be important to know about the evolution of the idea of progress, not only because it was the ancestor belief of development, but also because of the need for sustainability. In 1683, the French scientist Fontenelle first articulated the great idea of progress, that mankind with the new science and improved technology had entered in a road of necessary and unlimited progress. The idea of progress was gradually developed, shifting away from a notion of advancement in a desirable direction to a promised land beyond the grave, to one of the better life on earth, justified by scientific and technological development. Emergency of the concept of sustainability demand for raw materials and its impacts on the environment have been a constant issue throughout human history. By the 18th century, because of massive consumption of wood for shipbuilding, mining, and many other purposes, a shortage of wood became a very real danger worldwide. In 19th century, the focus shifted to coal as most important source of energy, and alarms were raised that coal deposits might be exhausted. Increase in consumption after the Industrial Revolution, and the danger that crucial resources such as wood, coal, and oil could be depleted, boosted an awareness of the need of use of resources in a sustainable way and prepared the way for the emergence and global adoption of sustainable development. The concept of sustainable development, first defined in the landmark or Common Future Report, development that meets the needs of present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, later sparked academic debates around broader notions of sustainability. This term, particularly since the United Nations Conference on Environment and Development, held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, has typically been defined as the capability of maintaining over indefinite periods of time specified values of human well-being, social equity, and environmental quality. The historical context of sustainable development. By the late 1960s and the early 1970s, the melting pot of different ideas about progress, sustainability, growth, and development, which had developed over many years, started pointing in a new direction, that of sustainable development. Scientific and technological progress was causing terrible damage to the natural environment. Ecological disasters receiving much media publicity, films, TV programs, and pop music popularized the idea of a looming ecological crisis. Environmental concern became more acute and essential because of the fear that economic growth might endanger the survival of the human race and the planet. Model of thinking for sustainable development. The alarming ecological disasters stimulated a new model of thinking about development and prepared the way for sustainable development. These models include 1. Growing awareness of the limits of growth. The Earth had a limited supply of physical resources, and that exceeding the limits of its use could end in disaster. 2. Sustainable development introduced as a solution to growth problems. Sustainability should be the goal, not economic efficiency. 3. The Brundtland Report states that the key components of sustainable development, such as social equity, economic growth, and environmental maintenance, are possible. 20th century ideas about ecological civilization and sustainability during this period of industry and commercial expansion. The environmental crisis started looming larger on the horizon, forcing people to change their basic assumptions about ecological civilization and sustainability. The two basic advanced development of thinking in 20th century includes 1. Expectations of unlimited economic growth and the creation of wealth. Number 2. Theories of development. Expectations of unlimited economic growth and the creation of wealth in the period between 1800 and 1970. The world's population tripled from around 978 million to 3,632 million. The unexpected growth during the long boom of the 1950s and 1960s stimulated expectations of unlimited economic growth and ever-increasing affluence. Economists rejected the concept of a stationary state in favor of that of a progressive economy. They were aware of the sustainability problems related to the massive consumption of resources and emphasized the ecological development. Theories of development from the 1950s onwards, different theoretical assumptions offered different solutions to the mess in developing countries, emerging as dominant theories of ecological civilization and sustainable development. These theories include 1. Modernization theory, which consists of rationalization and high mass consumption, and 2. Dependency theory, which is a set of externally imposed manipulative, dependent economic relationships incompatible with ecological civilization and sustainable development. Significance of ecological civilization and sustainable development. After the 19th National Congress of Communist Party of China, the socialism with Chinese characteristics entered a new era. This report clearly proposed that it necessary to adhere to the harmonious coexistence between man and nature, and to establish the concept of green development firmly, focusing on solving the problem of environmental pollution and destruction and other outstanding issues, and strengthening the construction of the ecological environment, supervision system, and the legal guarantee of the sustainable development. Only by adhering to the concept of ecological civilization in the new era can we finally realize the fundamental improvement of ecological civilization. Public awareness on ecological civilization and sustainable development. It was evident that earlier expectations of industrial development and unlimited economic growth were no longer attainable. There was a growing awareness of the limits to growth. Several suggestions were put forward to counter the ecological crisis, ranging from radical zero growth options, which was suggested in limits to growth, to the small is beautiful type of notion, for example, escaping from the imperatives of modern industrial society in smaller communities and developing a more self-sufficient lifestyle in harmony with nature and other humans. In the light of the cost to the planet of ecological civilization and sustainable development, of which people become more aware as a result of the media coverage of ecological threats and disasters, a new morally defensible model is necessary. Thank you for your attention.